Today we're going to have a look at Nvidia and also AMD to some degree, and look at each company and also in relation to AI in the, let's say, the hype or the trend or whatever you might say, and see how these companies will fare in the coming few months and also the coming few years. So we know that Nvidia is really supply constrained when it comes to their chips for AI applications, mainly H100 and A100, and of course coming in the next year with H200. But sticking with H100 and A100, we can see that every industry insider basically says quite clearly that the amount of chips that Nvidia keeps manufacturing, they just keep selling out on the shelf immediately. So that's for sure that Nvidia is a really good position, especially given that these chips are like beyond insane margin. Like these chips have, I mean, some people even estimate that we could be close to 90% gross margin, which is, I mean, for a hardware company is just, yeah, I mean, sorry to be so surprised, but it's just unimaginable to some degree, to be honest. But going further on, we can see that they are supply limited, as we've said. So they are getting their chips from Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC. And they are really focusing on this new technology, this new packaging technology, where you package different kind of chips for different kind of applications into one whole final holistic view, let's say holistic package called CoWoS. So chip on wafer on substrate. And the limitation here is actually at TSMC. They simply didn't expect this quick utilization and growth in this area, in the packaging, in this advanced packaging area and domain, let's say. So Taiwan is right now, TSMC is right now able to manufacture anywhere between 8 to 11,000, maybe 12,000 wafers per month by the end of the year. And we know that their internal goal is roughly 30,000 or maybe even 32,000 wafers per month by end of 2024. So there's definitely a demand. There's definitely a plan by Taiwan Semiconductor to increase their capacity. And looking at the the standings today, we can see that TSMC pledged, according to DigiTimes, somewhere around 10,000 wafers for Nvidia through the end of 2023. And this is very interesting because this basically adds up to assuming that each wafer gives you 40 to 60 good A100 and H100 chips. You could say that you have anywhere between, I don't know, let's say 400,000 to 600,000 in the upper limit, which I think is a bit too optimistic. But let's say 500,000 H100 and A100 chips. And if you assume that each of these chips are selling at 10,000 US dollar, and to be honest, these are estimates, but you could say that my estimation for the average selling price is maybe even too low, because there's been rumors of these chips going even for like 40,000 US dollar. So in that sense, I'm quite conservative. But let's say we assume that 10k US dollar is the average selling price, and let's say 500,000 chips of A100 and H100. Well, that ends up being basically 5 billion US dollar in extra revenue for Nvidia, and this is basically revenue that is, yeah, I mean, I would say at the minimum 70 to 75% gross margin. So this is, yeah, I mean, such a crazy numbers in that sense. And this is also the reason why the stock has been going up the way it's been last few months or few weeks. Now, just to also say a few words on AMD, we know that in these rumors also that TSMC has been saying, according to DigiTimes, that the Nvidia wafer allocation is roughly twice of the AMD allocation, and AMD is running a bit behind Nvidia in terms of their launch of their AI chips, MI300, which should be launching by end of this year, late Q3 or Q4, and let's say hit volume production early next year. And yeah, we should see the good revenue uptakes next year for AMD as well, I think in the first half actually. But yeah, so sticking to the previous point, so we know that at least the rumors are that Nvidia's allocation is twice the numbers of AMD's, and then those two customers together are basically accounting for 70 to 80% of the entire TSMC CoWoS manufacturing capability. And since we know the numbers of Nvidia in a really very rough estimate, we can at least say that possibly AMD should be able to get a few billions extra revenue, also with very, very high margin, coming late this year. Now, sticking on the point of AMD, we know that there's been rumors lately that AMD has been canceling, let's say, their gaming high-end, next generation high-end gaming hardware, and the consensus at this stage has been basically that AMD has been canceling those RDNA 4 gaming hardware because of technical issues. But in my opinion, it's also possible that there are not that many technical issues at all, but the simple fact is that they are supply limited by Taiwan Semiconductor for the CoWoS technology, and we know that their high-end gaming GPUs are also to some degree utilizing this high-end packaging CoWoS. So if you were AMD, why would you take very, very precious wafer allocation and put it into your gaming side, where you can sell those chips for, let's say, at best $1,500, where you can basically sell the same wafer and the same kind of silicon to a OEM or to a really, really multinational company for, I mean, even $10,000-15,000. So it just doesn't make sense in that sense. So if my assumptions and if my data is right, that the RDNA 4 GPUs are utilizing as well the advanced packaging in the CoWoS packaging from TSMC, this could actually be the real reason why AMD won't invest in RDNA 4 and the gaming next generation gaming hardware at the high end. So I think this is a very, very important note to take away as well, which also says that in theory they are really, really going to challenge Nvidia for the AI crown, at least challenge them to some degree to get a significant market share, which would be immensely valuable for a company like AMD, especially considering that Nvidia just today got a new price target upgrade to $800, and looking at the stock price today, I think they are roughly at, let's say, 400-ish, and they are sitting at $1 trillion market cap. So if Nvidia would increase their stock price according to the price target upgrade, you could say that this would be a $2 trillion company. And yeah, just to put it into relation for AMD, we know that AMD is basically, I don't know, $170 billion. So if they take even like a big chunk of that market from Nvidia, we could definitely see AMD's market capitalization go up 2 or 3x in my opinion. But then in that case, they really have to hit the road running with their MI300 late this year. So to finish this video off, because we started talked about what is the possible upper value for these companies, and we know that Nvidia just got a price target upgrade to $800, which is quite bonkers to be honest, because at $2 trillion, I mean, it's only basically Apple and Microsoft that are larger than them in the tech space, and they would be the same size as Google and Alphabet basically. So, and this is the quite, to be honest, quite interesting point of view, because those numbers that I've been estimating on are for 2023, and we know that, as we said earlier in the video, TSMC are basically manufacturing or capable to manufacture above 30,000 wafers per month next year. And even if Nvidia would double their allocation from, let's say, 5,000 wafers per month to 10,000 wafers per month, and we assume that their yields will increase as well for amount of GPUs or hardware that they are able to get per single wafer, that would lead to my assumption of 45 good dies per wafer. And if you have 10,000 wafers allocation per month, that's 450,000 A100s and H100s per single month. And again, assuming that you have a average selling price at $10,000. So $10,000 times 450,000 units, then you have $4.5 billion in extreme high margin revenue per month annually. And I mean, if you annualize that number, 4.5 billion times 12, That would be like 54 billion US dollar. And I was quite shocked when I basically did this napkin math for myself. But then I started to look online, and I could see that some of these like financial banks that are looking at Nvidia are basically speaking in those kind of 40 to 50 billion additional revenue by latest 2025. So in my opinion, this is like, I mean, even though I've been quite negative in relation to Nvidia and their stock price previously, this is a reality check. Like, if they manage to do these kind of numbers, like let's say 50 billion US dollar in extreme high margin revenue, that's like, I don't know, like they will increase. The stock price is not even too overvalued at 800 US dollar in a sense, because you have to remember that Nvidia's full year revenue of 2022 was at 26.9 billion US dollar. So in less than 1 year, they would basically add twice that number in revenue with much higher margin to their income. Yeah, this is just insane. So in my opinion, you have to follow this case very closely every month and every quarter, and see if they manage to actually hold these kind of numbers, both in terms of margins, because we don't know if there's any competition from AMD. Maybe the margins will have to go down at some point, and maybe the average selling price is going to 8,000 US dollar or 7,000 or whatever. But even at that point, still, like, they are gonna make a ton of money. So yeah, this is a really interesting. I'm still gonna follow this case for Nvidia and also AMD later this year, more in detail, when their MI300 starts to hit the market. So thank you for watching, and please make sure to like the video or leave your comment down below, and let me know if there's anything I can improve upon. And yeah, see you in the next one.